All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. Big decisions were made this offseason. The Rams had a lot of guys that they had to wonder what is crucial to this team, who we're going to bring back, who is going to make this roster, who we're going to pay the money to. And I think they made probably one of the smartest decisions they could have in this recent signing. Let's get into the article and then we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from NBC Sports. Kevin Dotson will not test free agency. The Rams and Dotson have agreed to a 3-year deal worth $48 million, according to multiple reports. Dotson was slated to become an unrestricted free agent on Wednesday, but the two sides came together and got something done today. The 27-year-old Dotson was a 2020 fourth-round pick of the Steelers. The Rams traded for him just before the start of 2023. He started 14 games in Los Angeles last year, and Dotson was one of the top 25 players on the list of top 100 free agents as well for 2024. This was a big move for the Rams. I think it was a really smart move as well. Curious what your thoughts are, Nick, but in the comment section below, Rams fans, let us know what other moves are you looking for the Rams to make. Free agency is coming up very soon. A lot of things are about to start happening. What kind of moves are you looking for the Rams to make? Let us know in the comment section below. But Nick, what do you think about this first move for the Rams?
So first and foremost, obviously it's a big move. It was reported earlier that maybe they would let him walk in free agency and negotiate at a later date. They decided to circumvent that process and go ahead and lock him up. And I think it's very interesting. There's a lot of factors to focus on here. I think first and foremost, this is an indicator that both Snead and McVay believe they're in a title window for the next 3 seasons, right? Because a 3-year deal of Dotson coincides very interestingly with the final 3 years of Matthew Stafford's contract that will most likely be certainly last a big contract Stafford will have. It may be his last contract ever in the National Football League. The Rams feel that they have a chance to win another title with Stafford, of course, still at the helm. They believe these 3 years are an opportunity to do so, and that's why they locked up Dotson to kind of make sure they have a quality offensive lineman to pair with Stafford for the next 3-year run. So from that sense, you can see the strategy. But let's focus on the dollars here for a second, because I'm sure some Rams fans look at that and say $16 million per year. That seems to be a lot for a guy who, coming off a great season in LA, no doubt, but had some issues with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think one thing we're looking at the dollars is we kind of forget that the salary cap has been rapidly growing for the National Football League, especially this offseason. It rose by about 13.5%, almost 14%. So when you see that $16 million per year and you compare it to other offensive line contracts, remember, those other contracts were signed when the salary cap which was much lower. In fact, if you, I'll call it inflation adjust Kevin Dotson's current contract, like focus his dollars now and decrease it as a ratio of the salary cap to what prior years would be, he's around number 9 or 10 for guards in terms of annualized per year. That's a fair price for a guy who came off a season with the second best PFF rating among all guards in the National Football League, a guy who is most likely in the prime of his career. So again, the number seems kind of startling at first, 16 million annualized over 3 years. But when you factor in the fact the salary cap has increased so radically, it's actually a fair price. He's not resetting the market. He's not even really even coming close to resetting the market. It's just, again, I'll call it inflation adjusted, salary cap, inflation adjusted numbers. He's about 9 or 10 among all guards in football. I think that's a fair price. And like they always say, good investment advice. There's nothing like investing in a quality product at a fair price, a quality company at a fair price. Dotson proved he was quality last season. Locking up for a fair price, it just makes sense.
Yeah, Nick. And when it comes to the way of guys who maybe have like one big pop off year, or like this could be the start of his pop off years, he came into his own in this Ram system. You feel bad when it's like a record setting deal, but it's like you said, when you look at it in the terms of the new salary cap, this feels really good for the Rams. Almost feels like a bargain in a sense, as far as could potentially be top guard for years to come. He had a really great season last year in this Rams system. And speaking of the system, speaking of the O-line, I think the Rams have set themselves up really nicely. They have to get the center figured out, whether they bring in a free agent or the draft. But Havenstein played good at the guard. Havenstein played good at tackle. Dotson played good at guard. Avila, we really liked some of the things that he put on tape last year as a guard. And then Alaric Jackson coming into his last year as a tackle as well. I think this is a really great setup. And like you said, it shows they're focusing on the O-line because they're probably in that 3-year title window. I think the Rams are really starting to build a strong team. I think there's a couple other things they got to figure out. Does Aaron Donald stay? Reports are that he said he's going to play in 2024. So I think that this Rams team is setting up. I think they're going to draft good once again, something they've been doing very well lately. And we're going to see this Rams team come in to this 2024 season even stronger than they were last year.
And I do think this is a sign from McVay and Les Snead as well. They're in their title window, but I think this is an indicator that they felt the team they had last season was really close to being a championship football team when they were healthy, when they were clicking on all cylinders. They lost a brutal game to the Detroit Lions. They actually outgained the Lions. Some red zone issues prevented them from winning that game. A tough call. It should have been a penalty against Puka Nacua. Hurt the Rams as well. The Lions obviously are the second best team in the NFC. They gave the 49ers a run for their money. So you could make a strong argument that the Rams, their roster from 2023, was the third best team in the NFC, certainly one of the top 4 or 5. When you factor in that even after this deal, the Rams should have somewhere around the mid $20 million in cap space. They should be able to add a couple more veterans as well. They have their draft picks, right? They finally got a number 1 again. So they've got another, just a litany of options to improve their roster. So I understand the strategy. You know you're good. You think you may actually be even better than a lot of people are giving you credit for, and you still have more money to play with. This wasn't all of the Rams cap. Again, they still are going to end up with about $24-25 million in free cap space, plus a whole chunk of draft picks. There's a lot more big moves to come this offseason for the Rams. I think this was just the first shoe to drop, and I think when you actually break it down and look at the numbers, it was a really smart decision by the Rams and Les Snead.